Alright, so building on top of what we did in the previous video, let's add type checking and enforce tests before we commit to the repository. Since we have TypeScript in our repository, we also need to check before pushing code whether these types are being properly used. Inside my product page, app.product.tsx, this images array takes in an array of strings or URLs to be specific, which at the end of the day are strings. If I pass in a number, let's say, I do get an error. You'll see that it says number is not assignable to type string, which is a valid thing to say because we had defined our type for the images array to be of an array of strings. But what if I actually update the type itself? Over here, I update the type from an array of strings to an array of number for whatever reason. I mean, in this case, it doesn't really make sense, but just for the sake of this example, let's imagine that now I'm changing this to number. If I do that, then I have to change the way I'm using the object that uses this type everywhere in my application. And there's a good chance that I miss out on one or two instances. So that's when I want my workflow to catch those kind of errors for me. I can't do it manually. I mean, I can do it manually, yes, but I want it to happen automatically through my workflow so that even if I miss out on one or two of those instances, it will catch it and it won't let my commit go through. So to do that, we'll have to update our pre-commit hook. This is what I'm going to add inside the hook. First, let me actually save this so that we can test it later. And inside the pre-commit hook, right after lint-staged, I'm going to add TSC. TSC is the compiler that's used to actually check the type compatibility in all the files. I'll use the build flag, and along with that, I'll use noEmit. I'll explain what these two flags are. So again, TSC is the compiler that's going to compile the TypeScript and the TSX files into JavaScript. It refers to the rules set inside tsconfig, and based on that, it does the compilation. In our project, you'll find actually 3 tsconfig files. There's tsconfig app.json, there's tsconfig JSON, and there's tsconfig node.json. This normally happens when we scaffold our project using a framework like Vite, Angular, Next.js, or any of those common ones. But it actually kind of makes sense. So the tsconfig.json is the main configuration. The other two configs usually extend this main config. So this config is typically not used by TSC, which is the TypeScript compiler, unless you explicitly tell it to. So the tsconfig app.json file is intended for actual app source files. If I open app.json, you'll see here that it says include the source directory. So all the files inside the source directory, TSC is going to go through them and compile them into JavaScript files. The tsconfig node.json is more geared towards Node.js specific code, like for instance, backend services, build scripts, or even server-side rendering. All those things are handled by tsconfig node.json. These configs are kept separate just for more clarity, and it makes it more modular as well. So now coming to these two flags, which I had configured inside the tsc command in pre-commit, we use the build flag to build all the referenced projects. So in this case, we have two reference projects inside tsconfig.json. We have the app.json config and the node.json config. So it's going to build both of these reference projects. And after type checking, normally it's supposed to create a compiled output out of it. And that is where the second flag comes in, the noEmit flag. So normally what happens is TSC will go and compile all of the files inside the source directory and convert it into JavaScript files, like valid JavaScript files, and store it in like a dist folder. We don't want that. We only want TSC to go through our files and see if the objects and the types are compliant. That's all we want. So this noEmit flag is going to tell TSC that there's no need to emit the compiled output. All we want to do is type check all the files. So that's kind of what this entire command does. It will type check and not output any compiled files. So now I'll try to commit this incorrect type, which we have over here. This is incorrect because this object expects an array of strings, and we here are passing in an array of numbers. That's incorrect. So let's try to commit this. So again, I'll do git add, I'll do git commit, and in the message, I'll type in incorrect type. Let's see what happens now. So you see that we got an error here, and it says data and data are incompatible. This error is a little difficult to read, but if you go at the top, it is actually pointing to the source, which is essentially the same error that we had got earlier. Type number is not assignable to type string. So this is working as expected, and it's not letting us commit. Also, one more thing just for better readability, I'll add a couple of comments here. So linting staged files and type checking. Okay, so clearly our workflow works. It's actually doing a type check throughout the source directory, and it does point out the error. It's not even committing, so yeah, perfect. Everything works as expected. So let's do it correctly this time. I will get rid of this number. I will save it. Let's stage all of the files. Let's commit. Now, ideally this should work because we don't really have any more errors. Yeah, it worked. Linting worked, type checking worked, all of it worked as expected. So that was type check. Now let's move on to enforcing successful tests. I do not want anyone to commit to the repository if any of the tests fail. So for that, I'll run Vitest, which is what I'm using inside this project. So inside the pre-commit hook, I'll again add a comment saying running tests, and I'll run Vitest, and I'll pass in one more flag. I'll explain to you what this flag does. Also, before going here, I actually do have a bunch of tests inside this test folder. It's for the add product page, the navbar, and the product details page. So these are like very basic tests that I have written just for demo purposes. So you can go through these tests. Most of it is just testing rendering related logic, so you don't really have to worry about this. Now the flag that I just added in the hook, this flag is required because by default, if no test files are found, Vitest will exit with a non-zero code. So a non-zero code means failure. Our commit will not go through if there are no test files, which is not really correct. If I don't have any test files, ideally it should go through. Only when I have incorrect tests is when it should fail. So if there are no tests and we are trying to commit something, it should work without any problems. So that is what this flag does. It's going to pass even if there are no tests, because by default, it would have failed if there are no tests. So that's what this flag does. Now we'll try this out. So inside one of our tests, let's actually change a few things. Over here, I have this mock product that I have inside my Zod store. And if you see, the name of the product is test product. So in order for it to fail, I can simply just do something like this. I can add a character here, which is now going to break this test. And if this test breaks, ideally it should not commit. So let's try this out. I am going to stage it again. Let's commit the broken test and let's see what happens. Okay, linting worked. Type checking should also work. Yeah, perfect. Now it's trying to run the tests, and ideally one test should fail, and you can see that the entire script failed, so it's not going to go through, and it's going to point out the exact issue as well, just like your typical Vitest runners. So it's giving you the error here. We can simply fix it. Let's go back and add. Let's commit this time. Instead of broken test, we'll write fixed test. Now it should work because the tests are correct, the types are also correct, and formatting is in place. So yeah, you can see that it worked. So we have successfully added type checking and test checking into our workflow. On a side note, I also recommend you to add type checks and tests as part of your node scripts. So if you want to just test it out yourself, you can do it conveniently without having to go through the commit process or like type the full command manually. So in our package.json, I am going to add these two commands. So yeah, now anytime if you want to do a type check without actually committing to see if there's any issues in your code base, you can just directly run this command npm run type check, or you can do the same with tests, because again, you don't really want to go through the entire cycle of committing things and then see if anything broke. You can just directly run it because essentially behind the scenes, it runs the same thing. So you can do it manually and based on that, get a result, fix it before actually committing. So yeah, we now have guardrailed our application for failed types and failed tests. In the next video, we'll look at commit messages essentially, and how we can enforce some standards so that they don't look something like this. It may seem like a small problem, but I've worked with teams that did something similar, and it was a challenge trying to find out the source of the error when things actually broke. Since it was a small startup, the frequency of the commits was way too high, and so the time taken by me to find out the source of the error also went up. So yeah, that video will be a fun one. Do subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.